What is going on, everybody? Today is Monday, October the 30th, and we got a big 11 game schedule. 11 games from Monday is a little weird. Usually, we don't have these many games on the first day of the week, but tomorrow is Halloween. I'm guessing that has something to do with the big schedule for today. As usual, we are going to break every single game down separately, do our analysis, and hopefully come up with some nice winning picks. But before we get started, guys, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I would greatly appreciate the support. And now, with all that stuff out of the way, let's not waste any more time. Like I said, we've got 11 games on the schedule, big schedule. Let's get right down to it. Let's go. In our first game of the night, we got the Brooklyn Nets in Charlotte taking on the Hornets. The Nets currently 1-point road favorites. I had them favored by 1.5. The Nets 0-2 to start their season. Could very easily have been 2-0. They played pretty well in the first two, but at the end just couldn't close the deal in both their games. Donovan Mitchell hit a shot in their season opener with 10 seconds left. They lost that by 1. And in Dallas, they were up towards the end of the ball game, but Luka took over there. Put the nail in their coffin. A couple superstar players, Donovan Mitchell and Luka Doncic. The Nets could not overcome those two players in the latter part of both those games. On the injury front, we do have a couple of players that are on the injury report. Cam Johnson got added to that list. Nicholas Claxton also missed the last game in Dallas. Those are two important players, but Brooklyn is pretty deep, guys. They don't have any superstar players, but they do have a pretty lengthy roster. They do have a lot of players that could step in and help out. The Hornets 1-1. They've split their first two. First game, they won at home. They beat the Atlanta Hawks, a good win. And the second game, a wire-to-wire loss to the Detroit Pistons, 1-1. Nothing that great for Charlotte. Not really too much mentioning here. The injury report is clean. Pretty much the same team that played in the first two games is going to be playing again tonight. In this ballgame, guys, it's going to be two perimeter-oriented teams. They like to get up and down the floor, put up a lot of shots, a lot of threes. It looks like it could be a high-scoring affair, even though the over-under, guys, I don't know. I think it could have been a little higher at 228.5. Is a bit low. I think that will draw money on the over. The game could very well end up coming out under. But I'm going to be taking a side in this. But I think Brooklyn does have more quality, and this is a good opportunity for them to get on the board with their first win of the season. I'm going to take Brooklyn here and the -1. Up next, Chicago at Indiana. The Pacers 3.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 4.5. The line is a bit low. We'll talk about that number in just a bit. The Bulls have started off their season 1-2. Could have very easily have been 0-3. Their only win came at home against the Toronto Raptors. They needed a big comeback at the end and overtime in order to squeeze out a 1-point win. Have not started off the season well. The Pacers, on the other hand, have started off 2-0, undefeated. Couple of very nice wins in their opener, 143-120, and in their last game against Cleveland on the road, 125-113, where they took advantage of Cleveland resting Donovan Mitchell. They were also without Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen. Pacers went in, got the job done. Good for them. They've started off their season very strong. Now, the number here, guys, 3.5, in my opinion, is very low for this game. Pacers are a very good home team. All the signs over here point to an easy Pacers win. But guys, the Bulls have gotten rest in their previous game. They were in Detroit. It was the second night of a back-to-back, and they came out flat. Historically, they tend to play well in Indiana. I think they could give the Pacers a run for their money and keep this game close. Could go either way, I think, down to the wire. I'm going to be taking the Bulls here with the +3.5. I know it's not really a popular play, but I think they could be competitive, surprise the Pacers in Indiana. My pick, Chicago +3.5 in this game. Up next, we got the Boston Celtics in Washington taking on the Wizards. The Celtics, 9.5-point road favorites. I also had them favored by 9.5. Line looks very accurate. Celtics 2-0 to start their year. They won their opener in New York, Madison Square Garden, 4-point win, where they did not play all that great, but they have a lot of superstars on their team, possibly the best starting five in the league. That made the difference in the end. In their last game at home, their season opener at Boston Garden, taking on the Miami Heat, rematch of last year's Eastern Conference Finals. They won that game by 8. Another very competitive ball game that could have gone either way, but the stars in the end made the difference once again for Boston. The only thing concerning about the Celtics, guys, I see the starting five is logging in a ton of minutes. Their coach looks like he really wants the team to get off to a good start. Is not really using the bench that much. In the future, that could be an issue. But as of now, guys, he is using his star players, and they are getting the job done. The Wizards, 1-1, have split their first two. A team projected to finish at the bottom of the East this year. They lost their first game in a blowout loss at Indiana. Gave up 143 points in that game. In their last game, they took advantage of Memphis, and Memphis was on a back-to-back. Plus, we know Memphis has a ton of injuries. Washington took advantage of that, picked up their first win at home. In this game, Daniel Gafford is listed as questionable. He tweaked his ankle a bit in that game against Memphis. A very important player, the starting center for Washington. If he doesn't play, that's going to be a big blow for the Wizards. We're going to have to monitor his situation. But overall, guys, here we're talking about the best team in the East and the worst team in the East. The only way I can go in this game is with Boston in the -9.5. It is a little concerning if you think last year when the two teams played against each other, Washington blew out the Celtics. But we know both teams are completely different than what they were last year. Boston should go in there and get the job done, even though they haven't really been covering too many numbers. And like I said, starters playing a lot of minutes. Boston -9.5 though. Let's go with that in this game. Up next, Minnesota at Atlanta. Minnesota 2-point road favorites. I had them favored by 2.5 in this game. Timberwolves 1-1 to start their year. Lost their opener in Toronto. Bounced back at home against the Miami Heat. They caught Miami on the second night of back-to-back. They rested Jimmy Butler. Minnesota did what they needed to do. They got a 16-point win. Weren't that sharp. I can't say they're playing the best of basketball, but they did get the job done and won by 16. Naz Reid, the backup big, had a huge game, 25 points. The rest of the guys, Anthony Edwards, Towns, Conley, they're looking a bit sluggish to start this regular season, guys. They have not really hit their stride just yet. Towns and Edwards did play in the summer for their national teams. That could play a factor. They might have a little bit of tired legs. It might take them a little bit of time to start rolling it again. Timberwolves, guys, definitely not playing that great. The Hawks got a huge win on the road just yesterday. They're going to be on the second night of back-to-back. They destroyed the Milwaukee Bucks actually on the road. It was a wire-to-wire win. They came out with a big lead to start. They increased that lead in the second half. Milwaukee tried to make a run, but Atlanta just kept hitting shot after shot after shot. They put up 127 points. Got an easy 17-point win. This is the second night of a back-to-back, of course, for Atlanta. But if you look at the box score, the starters did not log in too many minutes. Trae Young, 32 minutes, played the most in that game. DeJounte Murray, 30. That's not a lot of minutes for these guys. Capella, Johnson, and Hunter were in the mid-20s. So they should be fresh. I don't think fatigue is going to be an issue in this ball game. Minnesota, like I mentioned, guys, is not really playing that well. I think Atlanta could continue their momentum from the game in Milwaukee and do the damage again here at home. I'm going to be taking them here with the +2. Atlanta +2 is my pick in this game. All right, guys, up next, we got the Portland Trailblazers in Toronto taking on the Raptors. The Raptors currently 7.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 9.5. We see a big discrepancy, my line estimate, with the actual line. We're going to talk about that shortly. First, let's talk about the Blazers. 0-3 to start their season, have been playing like absolute garbage. Wire-to-wire losses in all three of their games. Two of them have been by double digits. The previous game, which was yesterday, this is going to be a second night of a back-to-back for the Blazers. They got dismantled in Philly, lost by, I think, 30 or something. On the injury front, things over there are also looking bad for Portland. Anthony Simons, their starting point, will be out again. He's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. Everything is looking just absolutely terrible for the Trailblazers. The Raptors 1-2 to start their year. They won their season opener against Minnesota. Good win at home. Dropped their last two. They gave up a big lead in Chicago at the end. They could have won that ball game. Ended up losing by 1. And in their last game, lost to the Sixers at home. Competitive in all three. This line, guys, in my opinion, is a head scratcher. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Toronto only -7.5. As you can see, I had it at 9.5. They're catching Portland on the back-to-back. Portland's getting blasted by everybody. They're playing without Anthony Simons. Just, I don't understand this line. I don't know why the books are content taking the money over here with the -7.5. This is solely going to be a contrarian strategy bet, guys. I'm going to take the Blazers here with the plus 7.5. As shitty as this looks, I don't know why this line is so low. Toronto should destroy the Blazers. If we just look at the facts, they should, but why is this line so low, guys? I've seen this movie play out plenty of times. I'll take Portland here with the plus 7.5. I can't give you any arguments for it, guys, but this is strictly a line play, a contrarian bet. Portland plus 7.5 in this game. Up next, we got the Dallas Mavs in Memphis taking on the Grizzlies. The Mavs currently 2.5-point road favorites. I had them favored by 2. The Mavs 2-0 to start their year. Luka Doncic responsible for both those wins. A tough one in their opener at San Antonio and in their first game at home. Another tough win, a 5-point win against the Brooklyn Nets. Had to squeeze out W's against two of teams that are not expected to make the playoffs. Overall, the Mavs on the court have not looked that sharp. Luka's playing fantastic, but everyone else, the basketball they've been playing is just not that great. The Grizzlies know better themselves. They're 0-3 to start their year. Lost their first 2 at home. Their opener to the Pelicans, and then another loss to the Denver Nuggets, the defending champs, 0-2 at home, where they lost only 6 games all of last season. They dropped their first 2. And to make things worse, they were in Washington, a team projected to finish last in the East. Lost that game also. It was the second night of a back-to-back. The Grizzlies are struggling with injuries, guys. And, of course, the John Morant situation where he's suspended for 25 games. Things not looking that great for Memphis. But keep in mind, guys, they were one of the top teams in the league last year. The best home record. In this game, guys, I'm going to go with Memphis here and the plus 2.5. I know it looks like a very tough game to pull the trigger on, but the Grizzlies still do have a lot of quality players. Luka will be a handful, but like I said, Dallas is not playing all that great. I'm going to take a shot here with Memphis and with the plus 2.5, see if they can come out of that funk that they have started this season with. Memphis plus 2.5 in this game. Up next, we've got the Miami Heat in Milwaukee taking on the Bucks. Bucks currently 5.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 6. Miami Heat 1-2 to start their season. They won their season opener against the Pistons by a point, dropped their next 2 in Boston and Minnesota. Minnesota was the second night of back-to-back. Eric Spoelstra, we've gotten used to seeing this from the Miami Heat last couple of years. He rested Jimmy Butler. Load management. They look completely uninterested in the regular season. They look like a team that if they could skip the whole regular season and go directly to the playoffs, they would. Miami Heat, strange bunch to say the least. The Bucks, 1-1 on their season. They squeezed out a 1-point win in their opener against the Sixers, where they could have easily lost that game. Lillard scored 39 in that game. Last night, they were at home once again, taking on the Atlanta Hawks. A blowout loss, wire to wire. Damian Lillard played very poorly in this game, only had 6 points on 2 of 12 shooting. Overall, the team looks like they haven't really gotten it all together, this whole Damian Lillard thing. It is going to take a little time. Damian Lillard also touched upon this in his post-game interview, that it is going to take a while for them to build the right chemistry going forward. Chris Middleton missed the game yesterday. They rested him, load management, so he could be ready for tonight. He should be back in the lineup. This 5.5-point line, guys, I don't know. Like I just talked about, the Bucks, I think will need a little bit of time. Miami does like to play against the top teams in the league. They tend to show up in this game. I'm going to go with Miami here and the plus 5.5. Even though Miami guys, they are a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type team. Even though the Bucks guys in the first 2 games of the season have also shown us something similar, stunk it up yesterday in Atlanta. Let's take Miami here in the points, see what happens. Up next, we got the Golden State Warriors in New Orleans taking on the Pelicans. The Pelicans 2.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 3.5. The Warriors 2-1 to start their year. They lost their season opener to Phoenix, then won their next 2 on the road. Where they were one of the worst teams in the league last year, have started off their campaign this year on the road hot. A very impressive win in Sacramento, a tough place for anybody to win. And in their last game, which was last night in Houston, got an 11-point W. Steph Curry hit 4 threes in the end of that game. Houston did make it competitive. Steph said enough of that. He hit 4 straight. Golden State won that game by 11 in a game, which Steve Kerr looked like he was kind of managing it, looking ahead to today's game, we see none of the starters logged in a lot of minutes. Steph Curry played the most, 31 minutes. They shouldn't be too tired, even though, guys, we have gotten used to the Warriors giving us some surprises on the second night of back-to-back resting players from last year. We're going to have to see how Steve Kerr manages this situation this season. The Pelicans, 2-0 to start their year, have been very impressive in their opening couple games. They won their season opener in Memphis, and in their last game had the Knicks. The Knicks were on the second night of back-to-back. New Orleans came in sharp, took care of business, won that game. They are 2-0. On the injury front, like I mentioned, with nothing yet with the Warriors, but we do have to be cautious. We're going to have to wait until closer towards tip-off to see what Steve Kerr does with his players. As of now, it looks like everybody is going to be playing. The Pelicans, same players that were in their last game, are expected to play in this one. Guys, if everyone plays for the Warriors, I kind of like them in this spot. I'm going to be taking them with the plus 2.5. It is a second night of a back-to-back. But I'm saying if everybody plays, I kind of like him here. They've been playing sharp, looking very nice. The Golden State Warriors, I did not expect them to be this good. I know the Pelicans also playing very well. Golden State does have depth. I like them. I think the matchups in this game could be favorable if they all play. Let's take a shot here with the Warriors and the plus 2.5. Up next, the Pistons are in Oklahoma City taking on the Thunder. The Thunder, 5.5-point home favorites. I had them also favored by 5.5. The Pistons have started off this season very well. 2-1 so far, their record. They lost their season opener to Miami by a point. They had their chances in that game. They could very easily have been 3-0 right now. 2-1, not too shabby at all. The Thunder also 2-1. They won their first two games on the road, a blowout win in Chicago, and then a big comeback win in their next game in Cleveland. Started off the season 2-0. Yesterday was an absolute disaster. Their home opener, the defending champs, pounded on them by 33 points. Oklahoma City got blown out pretty much from start to finish. Once the writing was on the wall, the coach pulled the players. Look at the box score. They did not play too many minutes. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander played the most, 28. He had a very poor shooting game, something we haven't gotten used to seeing from him. Just 2 for 16 from the floor, 7 points for SGA, who is a 30-point-a-game scorer. In this ball game, guys, I do expect the Pistons to be competitive throughout the majority of the game, but I think Oklahoma City does have the better team, more quality. They are at home. They are usually very, very tough at home. I'm going to take my chances here with Oklahoma and the minus 5.5. I think they're the better team. And even though this is a second night back-to-back, like I mentioned, these are young guys. The legs are energetic. Fatigue shouldn't be an issue here. They didn't log in a lot of minutes. Let's go with the Thunder here in the minus 5.5. Up next, Utah at Denver. Denver 7.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 7. Utah 1-2 to start their year. 2 blowout losses, one in their season opener against the Kings and another one in their last game against the Phoenix Suns. When they lose, they lose big. Their sole victory, a very good win at home against the Clippers. They squeezed out a 2-point W, looked sharp in that game. Inconsistent so far in their first 3 games of the season. The Nuggets, on the other hand, sharp in all 3. 3-0 to start their year. Momentum has carried over from their championship run from last year. The Nuggets are looking very, very good. 7.5 points over here in this game at home. We know the Nuggets, one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NBA. The ultimate favorites in this ball game, of course. This is going to be a second game of a back-to-back. They were in Oklahoma City yesterday. I don't think that'll be too much of an issue, though. They won that game by 33. The starters didn't log in too many minutes. And my only concern in this game, guys, Denver, they were away for a couple of games. This is going to be their first game back at home. A lot of talk about the altitude all the time. I think the Nuggets might come out a little bit slow in this game. I think towards the end they probably should win, though, possibly cover. But I'm going to go here with the Utah Jazz, a play with the +4 in the first half. I think they might keep it competitive at least for a half, and then anything can happen. If they lose another one, just another loss in the loss column for the Utah Jazz. They'll have plenty of those this year. But I'm going to give my shot over here with Utah, first half +4. And in our last game of the night, we got the Orlando Magic in LA taking on the Lakers. Lakers 2.5-point home favorites currently. I had them favored by 3. Magic 2-0 to start their season. Very impressive wins. A 30-point blowout win in their opener against the Rockets, and in their last game, another comfortable win on the road against Portland. Of course, They weren't playing against any gangbusters, but the level of play is very high. The Magic are playing well. The Lakers, 1-2 to start their year. Very tough schedule so far, gotta be honest. They've played against some very tough teams. Schedule has not been really nice to the Lakers. This 1-2 record. I'm not putting too much into it. I think when it's all said and done, they will be one of the top teams in the regular season. In this ballgame, guys, second night of back-to-back. They were in Sacramento yesterday. They went for it. Had a lot of chances to win that game, but Sacramento squeezed out a 5-point win in overtime. The minutes, just look at the box score, guys. The starters played a ton. Anthony Davis, 42 minutes. Taurean Prince, 41. LeBron James, 39. Russell, 41 minutes. They're going to have some tired legs to lay, that's for sure. And especially against a young, energetic team like the Orlando Magic, I think the Lakers are going to have a tough time in today's game. What do we see here? What I see happening over here, guys, a lot of people are going to be expecting a bounce-back game from the Lakers. I just don't see it. I think the Orlando Magic are for real. There's a reason why this line is so short. I'm going to take a play here with the Orlando Magic. This is a tough spot for the Lakers. It is the beginning of the season. I don't think Darvin Ham is going to want to risk any freak injuries or anything that can put in danger the rest of their season. The Lakers, of course, they're not going to try to lose the game, but I think they're not going to put the most maximum effort either. I think Orlando couldn't capitalize on this. I'm going to take a shot here with Orlando and the +2.5. And this is what I got for you guys today on this Monday, October the 30th, and this big 11-game schedule. We broke each one of these games down, did our analysis, got our picks, and we are ready to roll. In my second video, if I need to update the information, I will. There is still a lot of uncertainty surrounding a few of these teams. Who's going to be in, who's going to be out. We got to look at the line movement, try to get the best prices available. I will give you guys my best bet in the second video. That's why if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to get the alert. And that's it. I don't want to make this video much longer than it already is. So I will cut it right here. I will wish you guys good luck on your plays. Enjoy the week, the beginning of the week. Be safe, have fun, and let's make some money, guys. I will see you in the next video. Have a good one. Later.